What's up guys, it's Spider back for another JJKPhantomparade video. So today we're going to be going over the brand new red Mahito. It's going to be coming out very soon. And yeah, that's basically about it. and all the new stuff that we're going to be getting on global, like I said, in like a day or so. But before I get started though, I greatly appreciate it because could drop me a like, comment, subscribe, would really help me out trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. You know, I'm going to have a brand new year, so you know, gonna keep striving for that goal. Anyways, let's get started with that. But yeah, you know, we got technically the final part of the anniversary, right? Because Mahito's like the last like anniversary character, and then the Gojo is like the post-anniversary character that's like still limited, right? Kind of like how Sukuna was. So I'm not too sure when he's gonna come out, but he should be coming out either the very end of January or sometime in February, most likely. Which is what's probably gonna be the case. Anyways, let's take a look at what makes Mahito so good, right? Before we do that, also, we're getting 2 free multis from Mahito, one from logging in and then another one from doing missions. The missions are probably going to be the same as they always been, which is literally spend several thousands of stamina and then you'll get your other free 10 roll from Mahito. Also, as a quick note, for this banner, it looks like there's no special new recollection bit, so it's literally just Mahito. So once you pull Mahito, you don't need to keep pulling unless you want dupes, because there's no like special recollection bit or anything like that on this banner. It's literally just Mahito. So let's see what this guy does. So he's a red character, he's limited, he's a debuffer specifically, okay, and he's also mixed, and then he also has Cursed Spirit, of course, which makes sense. Let's see, so characteristics: receives damage when targeted by reverse curse technique, able to attack souls, weak to soul damage, and he can black flash, which makes sense because you guys can watch the anime, you would know that he can black flash. So skill 1 here, Defiguration attack at level 1. You deal range mixed damage of 29.1 physical and 29.1 jutsu, so the same amount, to one enemy for 3 hits, and increase the selected enemy's crit hit resistance by 25% for 3 turns. That's quite huge actually. 25% is not a small number, especially for like a skill 1 like this. At level 10, it's gonna now be 60% physical and 60% jutsu, so just the damage increase, but nothing too crazy. I will say it is interesting that they're going down the... I actually don't remember if the green Mahito is like this. I mean, we can take a quick look, but at the very least, I know all the non-enemies work very similarly, where they do the whole mixed damage, right? Where it's like you have both of those things included in there. Let me just double check. Does Mahito also have that or no? Yeah, the green one didn't have that. It was like specifically separated, but for this red Mahito, it's like both fused together, which is quite interesting. And then at level 9, it's going to be 56 for both of them. He does have a changed version though with skill 1, just like very similarly to what Yuji can do. And I think Todo had the same thing as well. I don't remember. Let me double check. Let me just double check. Sorry about this. I just want to confirm this real quick. Green Todo, does he also have the... Yeah, he does. Yeah, because I was like, I'm pretty sure he did. But yeah, just like basically all the anniversary characters have this like one first version of their skill, and then there's like a second version of like the skill. So it's like they have 6 skills technically, right? So the changed version of skill 1's going to be level 1's going to be, let's see, so in spirit body of disordered killing state. So when he's in this disordered killing state, basically, you change the skill for skill 1. So instead of it being defiguration attack, it's not going to be soul shattering. And in level 1, it's going to deal range mixed damage of 49 physical and 74 jutsu, so more on the jutsu side and less on the physical side, to one enemy. You increase the selected enemy's red damage received by 11.1% for 4 turns. And then you decrease the selected enemy's critical hit resistance by 25% for 3 turns. Plus, you also fill ultimate skill gauge more than other skills. So a great way to basically boost his ultimate. At level 10, it's going to be 100 and 150, so 100 physical, 150 jutsu. At level 9, it's going to be 94 physical and 141 jujutsu. And then the damage received does also change. At level 9, it's going to be 14.6 red damage received. At level 10, it's going to be 15% increased red damage received. So basically, it's going to be a debuff where if red ally attacks enemy, they're going to take 50% extra more damage, basically. That's quite good, actually. I wonder if it's going to be difficult or not to get into this state. And then for crit damage values, it's going to be 40% crit rate, which is quite good also. And 50% crit damage, which is decent. Skill 2 here, body repel. At level 1, it costs 20 cursed energy. You deal range and mixed damage of 44 physical and 66 jutsu to all enemies, so it's AoE. And then you increase all enemies' red damage received by 34.7% for 4 turns. So we're kind of seeing a little bit of a pattern so far, where he's applying this increased damage taken by red allies. At level 10, it's going to be 80 physical and 120 Jujutsu, and then it's going to be 50% increased red damage received, which is quite significant, especially for 4 turns. At level 8, it's going to be 46, and then level 9, it's going to be 48, but that's still very, very good. Very, very strong, actually, especially for just the skill 2. 20 curse energy also isn't too bad. Now, the changed version of skill 2, it still costs the same amount of curse energy, so when you're in distorted killing state, it now becomes soul piercing. So at level 1, you're dealing range mixed damage of 74 physical and 124 jutsu to all allies, or to all enemies, my bad. And then increase all enemies red damage received by 34.7% for 4 turns. And then you also fill more ultimate skill gauge than other skills. Instant kill the selected enemy based on HP and Jujutsu stat. That's pretty good too. So you also have a chance to insta kill enemies. I think if I remember correctly, the first Yuta, the red one, does also have this as well, where he has a chance to one-shot enemies if they're like not bosses, basically, and their HP is low enough. So that's really cool. I'm assuming it probably works the same way. But yeah, basically it's based off the enemy's HP most likely, and then also based off Mahito's Jujutsu stat, I'm assuming. At level 10 though, you're going to be dealing 150 physical and 250 jutsu, which is quite good. Nothing too crazy, but it's still pretty significant. And then it's going to be 50% red damage received, so that's still the same. So overall, it looks like the only big difference is that you're dealing more damage overall. And then you're able to fill your ultimate skill gauge a bit higher, and you're also able to insta-kill enemies, basically. Also, because it's AoE, that makes this even better. So since it's AoE, you have a chance of like just killing a bunch of the weaker mobs, right? So that is quite good as well with this skill. But yeah, so it looks like this killing state does also help with reaching your ultimate a lot quicker. And then I'm assuming maybe it's going to be based off like the ultimate perhaps, or maybe something else, or maybe skill 3 for this killing state, because of the whole, you know, farming your because like, to be honest, I don't really see a point in using the regular version. So I'm assuming if that's the case, with how good the second version or the alternative versions are for skill 1 and skill 2 are, most likely it's gonna, you know, be the whole you have to use the ultimate or use skill 3, or like you have this killing state for a limited amount of time, right, because of how good these are. Now for skill 3, Idle Transfiguration, we have 3 different versions, which is quite interesting. So the first version here, the regular one, at level 1, it costs 20 curse energy. You increase your own break damage by 200% for 1 turn 1 time. You deal melee Jujutsu damage to one enemy by 176.8%, so quite significant already, especially for level 1. You increase the selected enemy's red damage received by 34.7% for 4 turns. You also increase the selected enemy's break damage received by 27.3% for 3 turns. And you decrease the selected enemy's critical hit resistance by 30% for 3 turns. He also has the whole insta-kill based off HP and Jutsu stat, which is also quite nice. That is very, very good. So that's another great thing about this Mahito. He's going to be able to break enemies a lot easier than other characters, because he's increasing his own break damage. He's also making it to where the enemies will take more break damage, so that's really good. At level 10, you're not going to be dealing 250 melee Jutsu damage to one enemy, and then you're going to be applying 50% increased damage received to by red allies, 30% break damage received, and then 30% critical hit resistance, which still stays the same. And then at level 8, it's going to be 233 for damage, for jutsu damage, and then 46 for red damage received, 29.4 for break damage, and then, you know, like I said, crit resistance is still going to be the same. That's still quite good. Now the second version of this skill, so it is now going to cost 10 cursed energy at level 1. If your own ultimate gauge is above 1,000, so basically if you have full ultimate, essentially, you change this into Black Flash. This skill will not consume ultimate gauge, and then this skill will not be changed if 2 Black Flashes were performed or during instant body of, so once you get into this killing state. Okay. So as long as your ultimate basically hits, or basically once you have, like, I'm assuming like a full ultimate, which is when you reach this 1,168, you're gonna get this Black Flash state, and then. But look, what I'm trying to understand is what it means exactly by the skill will not be changed. Does that mean like it won't change into this if 2 Black Flashes were performed, or when you're in this distorted killing state, or does it mean like if you do those 2 different things, one of those 2 different things, then you'll still stay in this Black Flash state? I'm assuming once we look at the third version of the skill 3 here, that'll probably tell us. Anyways, to continue on further, you increase your own break damage by 200% for 1 turn 1 time. Okay, so you basically do the same thing they did before. But looks like he has another factor. So you do the break damage. You deal melee physical damage to one enemy with Black Flash by 396.6 counter immunity. So big damage, can go through counters. And then he still applies increased red damage received. In this case, a level 1 is going to be 34. And then also crit hit resistance by 45% instead of 30%. So that's a significant jump right there. At level 10, we're looking at, let's see, so break damage is still the same. Now it's going to be 700% physical damage to one enemy with Black Flash. And then it's going to be 50% for the increased red damage received from allies. And that's pretty much it. That changes pretty much just the overall more damage, but still really good. And also, of course, the enemies taking more red damage. So that is very, very, very strong. At level 8, it's going to be 632 and then 46.6 for the increased red damage received. So that's still nice. Now let's take a look at what this third version of change skill 3 is going to be. So still costing, so now it's still costing 20 cursed energy. So in this case, when you're in the killing state, this will change into soul cutting. So you increase your own break damage by 200%. So that still stays the same for all 3 of these. So that's good. For 1 turn 1 time, you deal mixed melee damage of 44.2 physical and 66.3 jutsu to one enemy. You deal an additional melee mixed damage of 49.8 physical and 74.7 jutsu to one enemy. You increase the second enemy's red damage received by 34.7% for 4 turns. Then you decrease the second enemy's crit hit resistance by 45% for 3 turns. And then you increase your own physical and jutsu stat by 30% for 3 turns. Okay, so a bit of a buff for himself, that's good. And then he still has the insta-kill thing, and he's also able to fill his ultimate skill gauge a lot faster with this as well. At level 10, it's going to be 80 physical, 120 jutsu. Then it's going to be an additional 100 physical and 150 jujutsu. And then it's going to be 50% increased damage received from red allies. And then that should basically be about it. So overall, just more damage. I think... yeah, I think overall, so it's going to be 200, 300... yeah, I think this Black Flash... yeah, so we got like Idle Transfiguration, Black Flash, and then Soul Cutting. So from what I'm looking at here, guys... personally, in my opinion, I think Black Flash, for sure, from what it looks like here, does the most damage. And then skill 3, of course, like does a bit more damage, more than the base version of skill 3. But overall, I think it's like, level 1, level 2, and then level 3, right? But to be fair, when you are in the killing state, you do get a physical and jutsu stat buff for 3 turns that you could stack up. So that does also make this quite good. Granted, it's only for 3 turns, but it's still pretty useful. You could apply that 2 times, and then, boom, maybe get to Black Flash, and then you get like the big damage, right? So that could be really huge as well. Okay. So what I'm wondering though is how you get this Black Flash thing though. Oh, okay, well, I literally said that, like, it kind of told me the answer already. But yeah, basically, so yeah, once your ultimate's basically ready to go, I'm assuming, or once it reaches at least 1,168, then you get this variant. So I guess the way you would go about it is you try to get this killing state going on. You try to spam maybe like skill 3 2 times, and then hopefully by then your ultimate's about to get like fully charged up, and then you can get Black Flash or access to Black Flash. And then you pop off with like the big 700% Black Flash damage that can go through counters, which is like, damn, that's really good. And also for skill 3, because I don't know if I showed it, but like a level 9 or level 8, 72, 108, 88, 133, and 46. And then a level 9 is going to be 76 physical, 114 jutsu, and 94 taijutsu for physical, and 141 jutsu for additional, and 48 red damage received. So still really good stuff overall, even if it's not a max level 10, right? But of course you might as well get all these to like level 10 because they're really good. Let's take a look at the ultimate. So okay, apparently there's 2 versions of the ultimate, which is kind of crazy. So ultimate, instant spirit body of distorted killing. So regular version at level 1, this skill cannot be used until Mahito has used Black Flash in a battle, so that's interesting. You grant instant spirit buddy of distorted killing state. So this is how you get the killing state. You have to use the ultimate, so from what it looks like, unless there's something in the passive as well. You deal melee mix damage of 142 taijutsu or physical and 190 jujutsu to one enemy for 4 hits. Deals an additional melee mix damage of 194.1 physical and 279 jutsu to one enemy. All hits counter immune. Okay. Increases the selected enemy's red damage received by 41.9% for 4 turns. You recover your own HP by 20%. You also have the insta-kill thing going on. And then in this disordered killing state, you increase your own jutsu and physical stat by 50%. You also decrease your own damage received by 30%. Granted, it's only a 10% chance, which is kind of weird, but I guess that's fair. And then you grant damage cut to self, which I'm guessing is like if any enemies have like a HP cut or something, I'm assuming, then he basically like negates it as long as it doesn't go past like 1,000 from what it looks like, I'm assuming. But that's still really good. At level 10, the maximum here, it's going to be 360 physical, 480 jujutsu, and then the additional is going to be 250 physical and 360 jujutsu. And then it's going to be 60% increase red damage received to all enemies from, allies. And then that's basically it. That's still really good though. That is still really good. At level 8 though, it's going to be 311 physical, 415 jutsu, 237 physical, 342 jutsu, and then 55 increased red damage received, which is still very strong. That's still very strong. Definitely the highest stat from all his skills. This is definitely going to be giving you the biggest debuff to the enemy, so you can output even more damage, right? Now he does have a changed version of Ultimate, which is quite interesting. So let's see what it looks like. So when you're in the killing state, it now changes into Unbridled Soul when you use the Ultimate. So you at level 1, you deal mixed melee damage of 142 physical and 190 jutsu to one enemy for 4 hits. You deal an additional melee mixed damage of 194 physical and 279 jutsu to one enemy for all hits counter immune. You apply the increased damage received to enemies by 41.9% for 4 turns, and you have the insta-kill effect going on. And then at level 10, it's going to be 360 physical, 480 jutsu, then an additional 250 physical and 360 jutsu to an enemy, and you're applying 60% increased damage received by red allies. So that's not much of a difference, but is the basically, I can't speak. Is it you're doing more damage, or I can't tell, because isn't this like the same thing though? I guess if you think about it, right? I guess what they're maybe trying to say is that I'm assuming they're going 2 ways about this. Either they're saying that they're just kind of reiterating the fact that like you first get the killing state, so it automatically swaps to this. You get Unbridled Soul, but then you're not really getting anything different here though. Like this is still the same thing as like the regular version, so I don't really know. Or maybe they're just saying that you change to Unbridled Soul and maybe that goes into the passive. Let's take a look at more of his kit, because maybe this goes into his passives for this Unbridled Soul. Let me just double check. Does any of his skills have anything messing with Unbridled Soul or no? Because that might be more of like a passive thing that he has going on. Because all these are based off of him having the distorting killing state. None of them mention the whole, what is it? The Unbridled Soul thing going on, right? So maybe it ties into his passive stuff. Alright, let's take a look. And then his combo is going to be you deal mixed damage equal to 80% physical and 120 jutsu to an enemy. And then you increase Mahito's and the allies' damage dealt by 10% for 4 turns. And then you fill everybody's ultimate gauge, kind of whatever. Nothing too crazy. So auto skills here. So regeneration. If own curse energy is more than 30 and not in disordered killing state, you recover your own HP by 10%, won't be activated if HP is full though, and you receive damage or receives damage when targeted by reverse curse technique. Okay. Basically be attacked by anybody like Yuji or Nanami basically, right? Or probably most or like anything that's like Yuji. I mean, that's still pretty good. So basically, as long as you don't pop the ultimate, and then if you have more than 30 cursed energy, which may or may not be difficult, you basically just get like non-stop healing until you cap out at max. So I mean, it's not bad. Oh, I guess this kind of plays with the ultimate, right? Because if you do the ultimate again, because it looks like you're kind of let me see, what is this? Yeah, okay. So this is interesting. So yeah. Oh, okay, I think I get it now. So I think the idea is that when you first pop the ultimate, right, you get this permanent, or quote unquote permanent buff, right? So you basically have this sort of killing state for where you have 50% of physical jutsu, or yeah, physical and jutsu buff, the whole decreased damage thing, and the damage cut right to self. You have that until you ult again. When you ult again, you swap back into unbridled state, or unbridled soul, which is like his regular version that you should go into battle with. And then when you do that, you get rid of this buff, but then you're able to activate this again, where you're able to heal yourself back up again, as long as you also meet the other requirement of having your cursed energy be 30 or more, and also, you know, your HP not being max. Then you're able to get access to this again. So that's kind of what they're going for, I think. So, okay, so that makes a bit more sense. Okay. Kind of mixed on that, I guess, but I guess it's fire. And then his other passive here is Zone Outburst. Just like Yuji, just like Todo, he also has Black Flash. So I'm assuming it's basically the same thing. So when Black Flash is performed one time per turn, you grant zone status, increase ultimate charging rate by 15% for 6 turns. You recover your own HP by 10%, that's quite good. You recover your own cursed energy by 10 as well, so that's amazing. And then zone status, increase physical and jutsu stat by 20%. On second activation of zone status, you fill your own ultimate gauge by 440. And then physical and jutsu stat buffs from zone status will be increased to 30% now instead of 20%. Really, really good stuff. Nothing too crazy on the passives here, but still really, really good. Not gonna lie. Yeah, I mean, overall, I can definitely see why his Mahito is really good. He's basically like Red Nanami if you think about it, right? Like he's pretty much Red Nanami, but if Red Nanami was a DPS character. Because Red Nanami, if you know, we go look at Red Nanami, right? Skill 1, he does damage, increases his crit rate. Skill 2, okay, well, I could have sworn Nanami has something similar. Okay, because yeah, Nanami with skill 2s increased damage dealt to all red allies. I could have sworn. Okay, I guess I got mixed up. I could have sworn Red Nanami had stuff where it's like he's applying debuffs to the enemy that like they'll take more increased red damage, but oh, I mean he does. He has that on the ultimate though. Yeah, he only has one effect of it where he's able to increase the enemy's red damage received, but it's only for the ultimate. Otherwise, he's basically just buffing like everybody's like damage by like a ton basically. Okay, so okay, interesting. Okay, so that's what Red Nanami does. Okay, so I got mixed up. Yeah, I forgot what he does. I mean, to be fair, how many characters there are, like, you know, every now and then I kind of forget what some characters do, but yeah, okay. So I guess a better way to look at him is that he's like Yaga, or like Yellow Yaga, or like what's another good example? Yellow Megami, right? Because I think Yellow Megami is like actually like a character that does debuffs, right? Increased physical damage received. Maybe our boy Yaga would make more sense to look at, right? Decrease enemies, select the enemy's physical stat received. Increase enemies' physical and jutsu damage received. You know, something kind of similar to that, where he's basically just applying a bunch of debuffs to where they'll take more damage and more crit. They'll have an easier time to be crit from red allies. So that's basically what Mahito's doing, but he's also being like a pretty good DPS at the same time. Not like a broken DPS. I think Yuji probably outclasses this Mahito a bit more for DPS purposes. But this Mahito is probably going to still for sure output some pretty good damage. But I definitely do think, and I do agree that for sure, he's a debuffer, but I think he's also a bit like of a slightly higher sub DPS character. But for sure, mainly like he's mainly a debuffer, right? But really, really good character. I definitely can see why he's considered one of the best characters from the whole anniversary, right? Because if you go to like the, well, you know, just for example, right? So like for the tier list, right? So for all the characters we had, we got Red Yuji, we got Green Todo, and then we got Mahito, right? Oh, and Sukuna, right? So Sukuna, yellow DPS, he's just here. Wraith Dori, also red DPS character, but we have Toji, which is also pretty good too. And then Nobara's also not half bad. And then Todo's kind of the same way as like Mahito a little bit, where he's supporting, but he can also output some pretty good damage himself. So that's kind of where I see this Mahito, where he's mainly a support character, but he can also still output pretty good damage, where he can be, you can basically use him as your own DPS basically, right? As far as teams go, because I just seeing this kit kind of made me like think like what teams you would probably want to run, like would be the best red team. I would say, let me see, I think it's 5 slots, right? Is it 5 slots? Yeah, it's like 5 slots for team. So it would probably be you run red Mahito in the front. Or no, you want your buffer first, right? Yeah, so you want your buffer. So it'd be like probably, I don't know what Megumi does. We'll take a look at him when he comes out later, because I don't know if he's like a buffer or debuffer, but I just know he's really good for mainly tower. But for the time being at the moment, you know, because we do have a lot of great red characters. It also kind of depends on what content you're doing, right? But I would say for like a general, probably pretty good team, it would maybe be something kind of like, you got your Nanami, you got this Mahito for your really good debuffs, and then Nanami's here for your buffs. And then for your last 2 characters, or technically, you know, it's 3, but we'll say for the last 2 on the main squad, right? You could run like Yuta. He could be like he does do debuffs, but he also is a healer, so he could run him to be like your healer. Kind of like on the green team, you got Shoko, and also yellow team, you got the other Shoko. You could use the Yuta as your healer, right? Granted, he can't really heal himself unless you have put a recollection on him, but he can be your healer. And then your last character could be like Toji. It could be like the Black Flash Red Yuji, maximum output. You can run him or Red Nobara. And then in the back could be like your backup, right? It could be like another backup DPS character, or it could be, if you want, you could even run Red Mai. You can run, I mean, heck, we even got domain expansion Gojo as well. So you could have domain expansion Gojo being the front, and then then you could have like maybe, what would be a good example? Yeah, I guess you would probably have like another DPS come in after, right? So then it would be like Nanami, Mahito, domain expansion Gojo, and then you're like your main DPS, which could be like Red Yuji, Toji, Yuta, because Yuta's also a pretty good DPS character. And then you could have whichever other character you want after, rotate in once Gojo's gone. A lot of great versatility with the red team, a lot of great options. Red Yaga's still really good, the SR version. Mai's also really good too. She applies debuffs and overall just a great unit. The red Megumi's apparently really good too, but like I said, I don't really know what he does yet, but we'll take a look at that later when he does actually come out on global. Yeah, a lot of great options, really good character. But with that being said though, in terms of like who's more valuable, because we are getting Red Megumi next week, or you know, next week, you know, but we're looking at another week technically. I'd say Mahito's probably still worth it. He does a lot of great stuff here. He's also limited, whereas yes, his Megumi is also really good, but he's not limited. So I'd say full send for this Mahito, definitely worth it. Try to get him, and then if you got any cubes left over, maybe do a couple for Megumi. But keep in mind, guys, keep in mind, we're also going to be getting domain expansion Gojo. We're going to be getting 0.2 whatever they call it, the blue Gojo here. He'll be coming out sort of soon, you know, but he for sure should be coming out within a month or 2. So, you know, be wary of that. So like, yes, Red Megumi's coming, he's really good, definitely bait, but like this blue Gojo's coming out, he's really good too. So I'd say in terms of priority, get Mahito, and then if you really want, you can try to go for Todo, will be your secondary option for sure. And then if you really want Yuji and or Sukuna, then go for it, but also make sure you have at least a decent amount saved up, or at least pity for blue Gojo, because he's also quite good. I don't know if he's like on the tier of like you need him, but from what I've seen, he's quite good, and he's also limited, and he's a Gojo, so why wouldn't you want to have him? Also, last thing before we do wrap this video, because it's going on for a very long time, we're also going to be in the Mahagora event, and it does have a free recollection bit that it does come with. So in terms of the recollection bit, this is what it does. So whenever you do ultimate, you increase your own damage by 40% for one turn, one time. It does mixed damage, so it's both, you know, for both jutsu and physical. Effect can scale with each turn past 2% up to maximum 80% damage though. So this can become really, really strong. So I'm guessing for every turn you get 2%. So that's gonna be like And then you guys, so max of 80% here at a turn cooldown. With one dupe here, every 4 turns that since the character has entered battle, you recover your own HP by 5% up to 5 times. Kind of lame that there's a limit there. And then at max dupe, it can go up to 100% damage dealt, but and also the base damage does get increased to 50%, and also it now becomes 2.5% for each turn passed. But the downside is that you will have to wait like 25 to maybe like 30 turns, something like that, maybe even more than that. So you have to wait like a significant amount of turns just to get this fat buff here. I don't think it's really worth it, but maybe if you really want to go for the extra mile, you know, there you go. But overall, it's not too bad. It's pretty good, especially for a free-to-play one. At least I'm assuming it's free-to-play because it's from the event itself. With Mahito here. Yeah, and then where I would rate the Mahito in the support tier is easily, you know, triple S tier, easily. Noted about that. But yeah, overall, should you summon from a Red Mahito, because this video's been going on for way too long, especially for one character, no recollection bit. Yes, you should have summoned Red Mahito. He's really, really good. Definitely a character you should try to get out of all the characters. And then if you had to pick and choose between 2 characters, I would say get Mahito, and then if you can, maybe try to get Todo. But if you already have a pretty decent lineup for green characters, maybe say for Blue Gojo because he's also quite good. But I also feel like Blue Gojo isn't like a mandatory character, but it also depends on your box, right? Because, you know, if you have like Blue Yuta, right, then, you know, maybe you don't really need Blue Gojo. He does work really well for Blue Yuta. Like he works really well. Like he basically buffs Blue Yuta quite a bit for his team, and he works really well for his team as well. But if you do have Blue Yuta, but you're maybe like missing out on like Awakened Gojo and Choso, then maybe you wouldn't want to go for Todo instead, because, you know, you need a good green DPS character, right? And he also works really well with the green Yuji once you get Yuji's SP potential going on. Yeah, I'd say overall, do pull for this Mahito, very, very worth it. As far as pulling for any other characters, it literally just depends on your box, like what you're missing. If you need a really good red DPS, go for Yuji. Though to be fair, this Mahito can kind of supplement that a little bit, but red Yuji will for sure should do more damage than this Mahito. Green Todo, you know, you need better green support / damage. Sukuna, if you do want a better yellow DPS, because he's currently the best yellow DPS in the game, better than Zone Yuji and Gojo, Team Gojo, but they're still pretty good as well, so you can still make them work. Or you can try to save for Blue Gojo, but I would say at the very least get this Mahito because he's really good. Anyways, with that being said, good luck with the guys' summons, and I'm gonna see y'all later. Peace, and take care, everybody.